Welcome back, everybody, to the League of Inches podcast, Supercoach edition, the TLT plus Supercoach chat. You all love it. We are back, the three of us. I'll tell you what, Jesse and Trav have almost kicked me off my own podcast. They're doing that good. Sit back and listen to it, and it's just I'm jealous of how good these boys are and how much Supercoach knowledge they do have. In saying that, we're about to get to the results, and apparently I'm the big dog around town. So they've asked me to come back on and said we just need some expertise on this week. We've got the run home, and we can just have someone just guide us through and just let us know the actual tips and how you do what you do. We might just get a few more listeners on. So I'll kindly donate my time. I don't have a flight to catch at 4:00 in the morning. So it's all good. I'll go off 2 hours sleep to make sure you guys have Supercoach knowledge. Boys, Jesse, I throw to you. How you going? How's things? A tough week. We'll get to that in a second, but I think you're in a slippery dip.
Oh yeah, in a way. I kind of thought about it last week. I thought, I might this might be my peak now. You know what? I might have peaked too early. I'm like a young Orson Welles. But yeah, no, it wasn't a great round in general. 11-26. I've seen a lot worse this week. I've seen much
Hang on.
better.
I haven't asked for that yet. I just asked how your
Oh,
week was.
how I
We're
was?
not getting to
I thought we were talking. You asked how my week was. My
know
week in
how.
general. Oh, my
Yeah, I
week
mean
was
in
all right.
general. I don't care about Supercoach for the
Fair
first 2
enough.
minutes. We want
Yeah.
general chat.
Yeah, I can
know
understand,
you're-
Jesse, why you're confused, because he spoke about how good he was and then just randomly throws
Yeah,
that question out. I can see
I
the
know.
confusion.
It's about
So I was
me.
saying big dogs
About me.
back in town. Oh, here we go. Also, hey mate, how's your week? I'm like, it was shit house. But no, my week was all right, to be fair. Like, I can't complain. It was just a regular old week. But yeah, I suppose it all came crashing down on a Sunday afternoon, didn't it? No,
It did. It did.
for some.
For some. I mean, I had a great Sunday. I was sitting in the car for 11 hours just watching Turbo put on an absolute masterclass. And I actually didn't check my score all weekend until like around that moment. And you guys were saying, you're on a good score this week. I, for some reason, didn't think I was going to be on a good score. But anyway, we'll talk to that in a second. Trav, just quickly for you. The new boy on the block, but I'll tell you what, you've just leapt ahead of pretty much all of us. You're on fire. I want to give you some credit there because I love listening to what you're bringing to the show. I know a lot of people out there are as well. So just, quick little love your work. Hope how are you finding it so far?
Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. And everyone else saying the same, saying anything positive too. It's nice. We live life. It's hard to get, you don't get a lot of positive feedback in your life. So it's nice to hear some nice things. So thank you. Appreciate it. How am I finding it? Loving it. Yeah, it's good. It's a great way to, it's certainly made me invest more into wanting to be better in Supercoach and wanting to have a chat. And there, funny enough, there's a couple of people I've crossed paths with that around locally that have come and said, hello, hey, Trav, you're on the LOI potty. And I'm like, yeah, I am. So that was quite nice. I've had a couple of those. So that was good. So it's good. Life's good and I'm enjoying it. It's different. But yeah, I certainly would love to keep going and seeing how it goes and how we grow and what we do and growing with everybody. And it's at the end of the day, if I just help one person every week, then I'm winning. So yeah, hopefully you find what I say not rubbish.
And it's probably a perfect excuse to give a little bit of a spruik. And like you said, there is a lot of things happening in the background for things. We've got I know it's way too early to say that we're focusing on this year, but there is so much stuff happening behind the scenes for a huge off season, huge stuff next year. If you are listening and one of those people that say you're going up to Trav, maybe even Jesse saying, I heard you on the podcast, make sure you do like the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to it as well on YouTube, or click that bell icon for the podcast, Spotify or Apple as well. Just goes a long way of helping and promote the page and expand its viewership as well. Let's talk about it quickly, how we've gone this past weekend. Look, they say save the best till last, so I'll wait. I'll start with Jesse, and just we'll climb our way up.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Do you want me to start now? Are you going to rub it in a little bit more, mate? You get 1 week
No,
on me
you
and
can
that's
start.
it.
I'm happy to
Okay.
sit
No,
back
it's
and
fine.
listen.
No dramas. Okay, so I'll kick off. The round started very promising. You know what I mean? I had a lot of prospects for it. I was going into things quite positive. I thought maybe hold a couple trades. Didn't end well. I ended up boosting. So it was the complete opposite of what I expected to do. Um, I used my last boost. I used a bit of the kitty, got some cash for Cleary, but yeah, just things go south so fast in Supercoach. Bloody hell. Ola Kawatu kind of screwed me a little bit with his suspension, and he's gone. He's gone. No time for the Ola Kawatu and the Cameron dumpsters. Threw him straight in the bin. Brought my old boy Angus Crichton back in, so I'm very happy about it. No dramas. I also finally ripped the Band-Aid off for some reason. Haven't had Jacob Carraz all year. Traded him in last week. Took his 80 points home, so I was very happy with it. But
Welcome,
the rest of the
son.
side, yeah, I know. I'm the
154 point turnaround.
biggest advocate for Jacob Carraz, and I have been all season, even the off season. It freaking took me 20 rounds to get him, so I'm disappointed, but here I am. But no, either way, Hughes, Tedesco, Pappenhausen, Dallin, shithead, all of them did rubbish and, combined for about 90 points. So it went shit, but I scored 1126. I dropped 921. Now I'm ranked 3,325. So the ground I made up last week, it's gone. I've just got to get close. But yeah, I'm about the same points distance from first place as I am from 30,000 place at the moment. So it's a very odd position to be in. Look forward, I suppose. Round 21. Let's get some. That's it.
Trav, I said the only way is up from there. So talk
So
to
clearly
us.
I did better. I really went into this weekend thinking, man, I'm going to fly high here. I'm ready for a huge boost. But yeah, look, I did. I rose 2,640 spots, which is not near as much as I thought I would. I thought I got 1,304. I thought that was a good score. I actually thought that was a fantastic score. I was pretty stoked with that, but really thought I'd rise a long way. I've risen to 14,125. So my season rank is, slowly creeping up. I still feel with the way that my team's set up and where I'm at, I think I've just started to really build depth now. So I'm pretty set for the run home. I've got 5 trades left. I've got a nice little kitty of 168K. Got a couple of little sneaky plans we'll talk about during the week for what I want to do this week. And I think that'll almost set me up for the rest of the year. Listen, I spoke about what I would do in my trades in the pod. And then as always, it gets to Saturday morning and then I'm sitting there for 6 hours changing what I do. And I ended up making major changes. I was originally going to go, I think I said on the pod, I was going to go JC down to fullback, bring in Burton for sharp and go Aiken down to Arthurs. And in the end, I went Keeney to Turbo. Hell yeah, 174 as a captain. So that was an easy one. And went Aiken to Garrick. And hell yeah, I got an 81 off that. So it worked out for me, but it was very different to what I said on the pod. So I apologize to all you listeners. Please don't listen too much to what I say and making what I'm trading in my team as your gospel. But yeah, so look, Jerome Hughes 25 was disappointing, but listen, everyone has him, so I'm not too worried about it. Reed Marnie's 25 in the hooker spot was a bit disappointing, but again, he's pretty well owned. And most people have Cook. I don't have Cook. I've got Romani and Robson, but I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, my big one, and I'll touch on it again, is I don't have 2 fullbacks. So I don't have that, and that those that have 2 fullbacks is obviously going and moving forward. So that's one of my needs.
Who needs them when you got 176 from Turbo and captained him?
Everyone that has Turbo that captained him in a second fullback.
Well, yeah, you make a good point. But like my 2 fullbacks scored 67, something like that.
That's cute.
Together.
Isn't that pretty? Yeah.
I'm over it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a bit how you
So
going.
Sharp on my bench was almost as good as your fullbacks.
Exactly right. Who needs them? Bloody hell. But
everyone that's pushing up ranks.
You did well without one.
What? I'm not going to bore everyone that's listening or watching with the details. I'm just going to say I got everything right last week. I'm pretty much King Dingaling. Respect me because I'm coming home hard. 1,386 on the weekend. And then I think I've seen that the top score was like 1,600. So that put me back in my place quickly. But you know what? I topped the group for once. So I'll take that. Rose 3,800 odd spots up to 10,022, which I was so annoyed about because to crack under that 10K mark would have been nice. To be sitting just above, it's like I feel like that might be the best I get. I just don't get to say I ever cracked the 10K mark this year. But anyway, it is what it is. We fight on here for Supercoach, and I'll ride the momentum. I'll ride the wave of success. I'm really keen to get into this week's plans. Obviously, tomorrow night, we'll talk about that with the tradie show. Let's go into the TLT stuff. Team list Tuesday. Now, guys, this one will probably be quicker. I know there's 3 of us on here, but there isn't a whole heap of changes for a lot of these teams. So it might be an easier one to get through. We'll find out, but we always say this and we always end up rambling on for a lot, but we'll try not to, because there's a lot of stuff that's just common sense, and there's stuff that would go over a bit more in detail tomorrow night as well. So first up, the No Thursday game, and it is for the NRLW, the women's kicking off, which I think is the Knights v the Roosters. So that'd be a great game. Make sure you're watching that. I think it's live on 9 or Fox, whatever you listen, watch it on. Warriors versus the West Tigers, Friday, 6 p.m. For the Warriors, Mr. Pod, don't mind this at all. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck has shifted to fullback. Edward Kosi to, I think it's Kosi or Kosi or who knows. These names get me every time now. To come into the side on the wing. Adam Pompey suffered the knee injury last week, which has made way. And Tuapiki suffered the head knock. So, couple of changes there, and we've got Moala, Graham, Talfa in the centers as well for the Warriors team. But the big talking point there is obviously Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, which I'll get your opinion on in a second, boys. For the Tigers, they'll unveil a new look halves pairing, Latu Fainu to partner Lockie Galvin in the halves with Aiden Caesar suspended. Coruscant's back. Bit earlier than thought. So if you did hold on to Appy, you're probably pretty happy about that one. Isaiah Papali'i also returns at lock, so not a bad shout there for lock, and a bit of a work rate he should get increased. That's about it for the major sort of talking points. Starfatoa is back in the side, replacing Adam Dewey, who has been rested. So that's pretty hard to see for the Tigers fans. He's probably been their best player since he's been back. So tough to see that. So, boys, just Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. I'll ask you first, Trav, on this one, because I put in the chat this other. I said Pod Deluxe. Roger getting Roger's numbers at fullback against it, especially like this week. I know it's you can't be making trades for 1 week anymore because it's at the back end. But if you want to climb some numbers or you want to put something out there, I feel like this is a pod.
A pod for a week. Like who's got the trades to bring him in? So you're not going to get him. So you're not bringing him in. So if you've still got him, if you were lucky enough to keep him, and I wouldn't even say lucky enough, he hasn't been scoring that well. So I wouldn't even say lucky to have kept him. You must have had many, many other fires to have kept him in your teams to be still holding him now. But if you've got him, playing against a horrible West Tigers team. It's in New Zealand too, isn't it? Yeah. So it's in New Zealand. Horrible West Tigers team. Yeah, like that's a great option if you've got him. But I highly recommend you don't bring him in.
Jesse, we at the start of the year we loved this and we were asking for it for so long. We finally got it. Might be too late.
Came definitely too late, unfortunately. If this was 6 weeks ago, or if he never actually got that injury, that massive, I think it was a hamstring or something that kept him out for like 2 months. Had he not got that, there could have been a different scenario. I had him that point, and I only traded him because he got injured. Again, he wasn't lighting the world on, but he was getting his 50 every week. It's kind of what we're getting from Kyle Ero's, but the difference is Kyle Ero was 200K to start, where Roger was you know,
600.
450s,
Oh,
500, 530, I think he might have been. So, you know, he was around that mid-ranger anyway. I think 470 or so, whatever it is. Yeah, look, he's fullback. You know, it's really good. His last 2 weeks have been quite solid. Last week was very good. He's 4% owned in the top 10% overall players. So he's definitely in the pod numbers massively. 508K break even of 7. So, you know, he's got everything going right for him. But again, like, how long's he fullback for? When does he go back to the centers? When does his output drop? You know, when do his runs halve in total? His meters drop? Like, there's a lot of things to it at this point of the season. You know, if you've got 10 plus trades, 100%, you know, take the gamble. Could be a bit of fun, but in my position and most, I definitely aren't looking at him. So it's a shame. Maybe next year if he keeps up, but you know, it's another year older. Nothing to consider.
I know Trav likes to talk about the VC options. I think there is one screaming at me for this game, which we'll talk about probably more tomorrow. But it's the what number is he? Hold on a second. It's the number 8 for the New Zealand Warriors, who I think is a huge chance for having a bit of a VC on him. I think we all own him actually, so I feel like just slightly nod your head, boys, if you're on the same page as me. We don't want to give too much away, but for the Tigers, is there much to talk about with the Tigers, or
is there any point in me turning up tomorrow? That was one of my big things. So thanks for stealing my thunder there.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, mate.
You even called it. You know, Trav likes to do the VCs. You already caught. You knew what you were doing.
Yeah, he did. Naughty boy.
And no, there's nothing to talk about the Tigers other than, all right, so that's not true. Geez, you'd be sillier to have traded Lockie Galvin recently, like 104 last week, wasn't it?
What a sillier to not play him last week either.
Gun. Oh yeah, it's actually sorry. Yeah, what an idiot for doing that.
Dickhead. Just didn't go well, mate. What a dummy. Anywho.
I know Joel and I both said that Appy's a good trade, but also a good hold last week. But we also said that with the view that we thought he might have been 2 weeks out. So, yeah, that's big news for him if you're holding Appy, because hooker spot is tough. They're just not scoring well, and Appy has potential to do that even over there in a probably more than likely drubbing that they're about to cop.
Yep. Jess, you got nothing for the Tigers, do you? We can go.
Look, it's very, very light. Ruben Porter's back in. Isaiah Papali'i's back too. So all those Ruben Porter nuffs, like, that's mad. Because Bateman is gone to the Super League. He's out of here. Not seeing him again. So maybe in 2 years' time when he has a cry and comes back to another team and then leaves them high and dry. Who knows?
Didn't that come from nowhere? That was just...
Isn't that... it's incredible, eh? Because he's been playing well too.
Up and out, man. Yeah. But, you know, he did the same thing to the Raiders. So it seems like it's a bit of a trend for him, unfortunately. But yeah, look, Papali'i's back at lock, which is massive. I picked him up in draft last week, anticipating this move. So stoked. But yeah, no, outside of that, not too much else to touch on. Sorry, Tigers. All good.
That's right. Next one is a League of Inches Cup. As you know, guys, we'll celebrate these ones. And now we've got Trav part of the team, a Storm supporter. It's the Eels versus the Storm Combank. Tell you what, this Eels side, it's getting harder and harder to look at and read out the list because there's always so many changes. Madison has been shifted to the lock with young gun Charlie Geimer injured and out for the year. So he's unfortunately done. Showed a lot of promise, but if you did buy him in, unfortunately just turned into enough really for you and you didn't really get much out of him. Dejan Arce remains in the 7 jersey. I'm not too sure how, but Ethan Sanders has been named in the reserve, so just keep an eye on him. But the way I see it, Dejan Arce will probably still play because Barrett has no idea. Lussick comes into the side on the bench to replace Matt Arthur. Sean Russell is back in the side and will replace Lorenzo Mulatalo on the wing as well. For the Storm, Cameron Munster, a lot was spoken about with Cameron Munster. He has not been named to start. He's on the extended bench, so just keep an eye on it. To be honest, Bellamy, I'll just talk to you directly here. You're going to smash us by about 60 as it is. Probably just give him a little bit of a rest. I know he's in one of my draft teams, but just rest him. Why not? Just let's do things. But if he does play, guys, make sure you play him if you have him because he'll probably score about 100 plus points. Tyron Wishart at the moment is named to start, but if he plays, he'll be switched to the bench, I feel like, and maybe Stuafalongo will drop out. Trav might know a bit more about that being the fan, but I feel like that, unfortunately, I just feel like that might be the better balance for them moving forward. The big boppers, Safa Solomona and Christian Walsh are both back. Joe Chen has been suspended. And somehow, surprisingly, Grant Anderson has been named despite that late knee injury, which I don't know, it feels like he won't be playing, but for now he is named. Dean Aramaya and Remus Smith have both been named on the extended bench. So there's a few sort of moving chairs, I guess, to happen here for the Storm, and a lot could happen in the next few days. So make sure you keep an eye on things like late mail and the like, because I feel like there could be some changes here. Trav, what are you thinking?
Yeah, there's just the things that don't make sense. But to me, Grant Anderson looked down and out, and even Bellamy in his post-game interview last week said that it wasn't looking good. It wasn't bad. It wasn't season-ending, but it wasn't looking good. So I'm really surprised he's been picked. Jack Howarth as well is another one. And God, he's been good since he's been picked and just been said, now it's time. Now it's your turn. Here's 80 minutes. Go and play. Like, he's been freaking phenomenal. So I've loved him. But again, he was injured too, and I don't get that. Jerome Hughes picked up a corky, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And just looked really hamped. That's why he only got that 25 points and really didn't do much. His kicking game wasn't on. He really didn't get to the ball. He wasn't playing with it last week. It was playing through through the edges, and so I'm surprised he's been named. With Welsh and Nas being very late out, so I think it was of the morning of. I'm also surprised that they've been picked. So I think there's a few games that's been played here, and I think there's a few changes that's going to happen. It doesn't make sense to me. But in saying that too, I think maybe it's also a sign of we might be playing Eels. Eels are probably the worst team in the comp at the moment, but we can't take it lightly. We've got to turn up still. We still haven't locked away the number one spot. So even though we're 2 games ahead, but so it might just be that moment. But things just don't make sense.
Yeah, this game scares the absolute what out of me, because I just feel like it's going to embarrass the crap out of us Para fans. But anyway, I feel like if any Melbourne player, I know it's early on, but whoever you have, like Katoa, Hughes if he plays, Pappy, the list can go on, are all VC or C options in this one because of just the scoreline that could be produced on the night. Jesse, do you have anything for the Storm that you want to add, or you want to touch on the Eels if you want? I feel like someone like Madison might be worth a quick talking point.
Yeah, not too much more to add on the Storm, to be honest. It is a bit, touch and go with the amount of players that they potentially have injured that they're bringing back in. But it's the Eels. They could probably afford to rest a couple here or there if they really wanted to. For the Eels, though, there is a lot of chat about the selection of the lineups and how bad they look and this and that. To be honest with you, I don't see any better options for the Eels than the team that they have literally put out on paper right now. You can complain about it, this and that, and there's a lot of, especially with the boys here in this group too, a lot of passionate Eels supporters, and everyone's got the lineup that they would like. But honestly, I look at it and I just go, no, that's kind of it, really. It's got to be it. I like Madison at lock, to be honest. He's done it in the past. He did it at the Tigers for a while. I don't think he really did too much at lock when he was at the Roosters, but either way, Madison's an incredible player when he's on. It's just, unfortunately, the form for this entire team is down. So, look, he's a good option. He's 484K. He's quite cheap. For his potential 45 break even. Currently traded in by 2 people. 2. That's insane.
The other two, give us a shout out in the comments. Let us know.
So both, okay, so I can't even see who the other one person is traded in for, but someone has traded Piakura for Madison. The one live trade. So there's one for you. Super pod, but not a viable one. Look, it's just not a relevant team as far as they go. To be fair, the most relevant player in this side, and I'd only know this from draft, and it's such a pod, it's freaking Campbell Gillard. Dude, his numbers have been nuts. like for a cheap front row, like he's doing a mad job of me off the waivers. But at the moment, it's just everyone else is just plodding along. A few good sells potentially from this point, looking forward for the Eels. I know there's a lot of Brown sellers going to Cleary. People freeing up cash with Blaze. No one else in the back line is really Supercoach viable. And neither are the forwards at the moment, unfortunately, because you can't trust the rotation. They're going to get benched all of a sudden in a week's time. So that's the problem. You can't confidently go onto anyone. You can confidently get off them all. So, yeah.
And I think it's also the fact that the run home draw for the Eels is absolutely shocking. So, like players like Blaze and Brown, you always want that upside of the attacking stats, which I just don't think are going to come, unfortunately. Look, the Storm, Warriors, Penrith, Roosters, Broncos. That's the next 5 for the Eels. The Warriors game, which is probably the best game that they're likely to win, is away. So it's in New Zealand, so there's no chance of getting a result there either. So it's just a yuck draw. It's a yuck everything and just not interested at all. So I don't know. Trades are at a premium at the moment, but I feel like if you can get off the Parramatta boys as best as you can, as you said, maybe Maddo is the option because he'll work at least, so he'll get some of those base stats and offloads away, so he'll get some decent scores still, even against good opposition. But yeah, I'm just not keen on any of that. Trav, do you have anything to touch on with the Para boys?
No, nothing.
Yeah, that's all right. Next game up Saturday is 3 p.m, so the early game. The Broncos versus the Doggies. I'm really keen to watch this game, actually. I feel like it's going to be an absolute cracker. Selwyn Cobbo's back from his groin injury and will play on the wing. Dean Marinar's good form would keep him in the centres. Kobe Hetherington is named in the back row for Brendan Piakura, who suffered a groin injury earlier this week. He remains a chance to play, but has been listed amongst the reserves for now. Blake Moiser joins the Broncos bench as Hetherington's replacement, who, as I said, is the starter for Piakura. For the Doggies, only the one change. Hoppo, I'm not too sure how to pronounce this. This is a stitch-up deluxe. Yeah, sorry about that. No offense. Hopefully taken. Trying my best here. Replaces Chris Patola, who suffered a suspected knee injury against the Cowboys. So let's the Broncos. Jesse, talk to me. Anyone sticking out to you for the Broncos? Reece Lightning, good score on the weekend.
Yeah, huge. We sort of very briefly touched on it a couple of weeks back, looking at the fullbacks to run home. Mentioned Reece Walsh is the forgotten fullback. But again, he's got to work his ass off to get it. And, he does. That's the thing. Like, he can never really put his effort in doubt. It's just against the big teams he can't. But, man, good score. They need the results from now. Like, you got to, for a Broncos, any Broncos supporters out there, they know, like, one loss from this point on is going to be crucial for them. So, a lot of players are becoming good options, but again, it's just if relying on a turn of form. But with Reynolds back, like, you can kind of see it coming. So, the back line looks great. Dean Mariner looks incredible in the centers. I really like that switch for him. He was originally a center too. That's gone over to the wing. So now in his, I suppose, preferred natural position. Really good. And inside Jesse Arthurs, I hope he gives him a little bit of ball just for a bit of cash, but it's never going to happen because I'm not going to sell him. But he might be an option. Look, Payne Haas is great in the front row. I think he's 700 odd K now. So still not a bad option. Very close to Terrell May if you want to do that old switcheroo, if you've got a couple of trades in the bank. And I think Haas for the run home will be really nice. But he would personally probably be the only guy that I'd actually pay too much attention to forward here. So that's pretty much for me, I suppose, for the Broncos.
Yeah, and just you touch on the run home a little bit. The next 5, Dogs at home, Titans and Cowboys both away. Then the bye round 24, which does hurt a couple of Supercoach players. I think that's second week of finals, if I'm right.
Yes,
for a lot of competitions. So that's obviously must win. If you lose that, you're obviously out of your comps. No second chances. And round 25, if you can get them through till then, it's the Eels at home at Suncorp, which they could honestly score a cricket score again on that one. But Trav, any Broncos with that draw? I know the bye is a real pain in the backside. Anyone sticking out for you that you're potentially looking at?
Yeah, I love Reece Walsh. I said it a few weeks ago. Jesse touched on it before that we've forgotten about agreed and forgotten about Reece Walsh and what he's been doing. We got his gold on the weekend directly after playing Origin, so I reckon that might be a bit of a wake up call. I think he's a great option, particularly if you're sort of tossing up between whether you go Turbo or him. Because Turbo's obviously got the Roosters this week and then the bye next week, whereas you're going to have Reece Walsh for the next few. So that's certainly something to consider. He is 814K, so he's not cheap, but he's thereabouts at the same sort of cost as what some of those other boys are. So that's a really good option and a good play. Jesse touched on as well, and I'll reiterate, I love the Payne Haas, and he's exactly 700K, Jesse. So I love that play and great for the run home. And we've all got pretty good depth now, so you should be bringing in either replacing injuries or upgrading cash cows to players like this now with some Matt Cash. So you should be able to try and think about getting these guys in, and the buy coming up for round 24 is pretty simple to manage for him. And like I said, one of my thoughts last week was what I was going to do with Aiken down to this guy was, I think, what Jesse actually brought. Did you bring Arthurs in last week?
I did.
You brought Arthurs in last week, and Aiken down at Arthurs whilst it would have cost me 40 points because on Garrick, it's, I think, still a good sort of drop. You know, like he's a great downgrade option to keep the depth. I like Nuffs. I'm a fan of Nuffs, but I also just know that so many of us are very low on trades. It's only round 20. There's still 7 to go, or 8 played rounds.
Yep.
7. Yeah, we need the depth. So putting in a dude that's going to pump out a 50 like he did and what he can do is really important. So I think he's a great play. And if I remember, was he 250, 260K? So that's a really good, that's a proper downgrade option. So I think that's a really good play.
He was 240 last week, but to be fair, I think there is a better option, Cash Nuff, at the moment that has appeared out of Casey McLean.
Yeah.
If I had the choice between two, I would ponder the two, to be fair. But even still, like Mariner inside Arthurs, Reece Walsh, if they get flying that left edge, like you got to think the attack will come. But they're both great options. He was 240K when I got him in last week. I banked over 200 something K off him, so it was handy. But that's kind of the only other option. I was forced to play him, but the points aren't too bad. So it's more of a downgrade, but I do like it.
I think with those games coming up, he's a great choice because I reckon he'll get a number of tries, especially if Walsh can stay fit and Adam Reynolds together with Mam popping around as he does. I think there's going to be tries galore for the Broncos in this run home. And I know they left it late. I know they can't afford a loss, but at the same time, looking at that, just those next 4 games coming up, I don't think they'll lose any of those. So there's a good chance that they're going to be right in this right until that last game. And that will also force Walter's hand to play those good players as well. So we're going to get them all the way to the end and having them as a full-strength side. So the likes of Payne Haas, Carrigan, etc., won't be getting rested because they need to win every single game. So that's great news for super coaches. Just the only painful thing is that round 24 bye, which is a huge pain in the backside. So the doggies, I just want to quickly say probably Karaz is a huge one to keep talking about. If you haven't and you can make it happen, I can just get him because I want to start talking about this a bit more, but their run home as well. The next 5 is the Broncos away, the Raiders at home, the Dragons away, the Dolphins at home, the Warriors away. So again, that's a whole, apart from this weekend's game, which is probably their toughest out of the lot, there's some winnable games there, and there's some games that they'll be in the contest for. They'll get to score. I'll be able to score a few tries in there. So we'll see because they're right in the fight at the moment for that top 8 spot as well, and they'll need to keep nailing down some wins to secure that finals berth, which would be huge for a side at the start of the year many thought would struggle again this year. Is Burton and Karaz, anyone else to sort of mention, boys, or we're pretty sure? I think you boys touched on Burton a lot last week. So
yeah.
Yeah, Burton's still a really good play. He's still 568, so he's still a bargain for 5'8". Like that's so cheap. And I really wanted to get him at bloody 538 last week. So 568 is still a really good option. I can't do it because I don't have that play. But if you can get him and you've got him, great. And hello, Jacob Carraz, who's 684K. If you don't have him, it's get him, please. Find a way and get him. Trade out. Bloody hell, go and trade out Asako. Get rid of Asako and bring him in if you have to. Carraz has got to be in your team. Under 700K.
I don't mind that at all. Jesse's finally on the bandwagon, so he's happy.
Finally, yeah. I'm his biggest fan. I'm finally got on. But yeah, I paid up a little bit for him with his 128 break even, and I was fine with it. To be fair, I didn't really worry me. But no, look,
King.
Exactly right. Especially this end of the season, it might even be worth captaining him 5 weeks in a row with that bloody run.
Yeah, he'll work his ass off. So I don't mind it. I don't mind that at all. But when there's someone called Tom Trebojevic which seemingly hitting form, it makes you question all of that.
And sorry, but the only thing to consider is that the Bulldogs are so defensively minded. So you are going to cop some low points, like on the weekend against the Cowboys, in a pretty free-flowing game in terms of the way Cowboys are a big offensive team, and they put so much effort into defense to hold them to 20. Like they're such a defensively minded team that you are risking in some of these options in your Burtons and things of lower scores. I think Carraz is actually matchup. I don't know the word I'm trying to think there, but matchup. I think Carraz is probably the only one in that group that's matchup proof. So I think just bear that in mind who you're thinking of with the Bulldogs. And there are still if, buts, and maybes around, your Hughes and who's where and what they're playing and what they're doing. There's still people coming in and going out. There's still a lot of play there. So just bear those in mind.
Yeah. Next game up. I'll tell you what, this Super Saturday is super. It's some cracking games, and I'll be plonking myself on the lounge early on this day, and I'll be sitting there. I'll be staying there. So pizzas will be getting ordered. I will not be moving. Cowboys versus the Sharkies up there at Townsville. For the Cowboys, same as last week's game. So just a reminder, Val Holmes actually moved to the wing before that game kicked off, and Jackson Purdue actually moved to the center. So they've kept that. So Val Holmes is now on the wing. Murray Talangi is listed on the reserve, so just keep an eye on that one. But I feel like getting the win last week and it went well, they might stick with that for one more week and not rush Talangi back, because they're in the race for the finals at the moment. I think they're 8th, but they've actually got an extra win ahead of those around them. So they're right in this competition in terms of a finals berth. So I don't think they'll rush Talangi back just this week. They'll give him one more go, especially because it's a Hemi. We've seen all those Hemis get blown as soon as people get back lately. So don't want to be doing that again. For the Sharkies, they had the bye, so it feels like it's been forever since we've seen him. Just a reminder that there's no Nico Hines. He is out for a while, so don't be fooled. He's still out. He's still injured. Liam Eason has been named to make his NRL debut at fullback for the Sharks, with Will Kennedy suspended. Talakai returns from suspension via the bench, replacing Jesse Cahoon, who has suffered a devastating knee injury and is out for the rest of the year. Jesse, for the Cronulla Sharks, we were a bit hesitant a few weeks ago, I remember, because the Hinick goes down and stuff. They did hit some form last time they did play. They looked a lot better. Still, I'm holding on to Mulatalo, so hopefully he can start scoring some points. Tough matchup this week, though. Really, really tough.
It is. But again, like the Cowboys have their defensive lapses, you know what I mean? And the Sharks can really capitalize on attack. So the same way that you look at the Cowboys matchups in their counter opponents too. They're great in attack. They're a bit of a liability in defense. So you know what, man? Like I actually don't think it's too bad. They've got a couple of different combinations now. Filiami Vailea with Holmes outside him. You've got Purdue as well. So like these wingers can do some things. I wouldn't be super worried about it. And to be fair, it seems like going off a one game, sample size. the Cronulla Sharks seem to be steering the ship quite well without Nico for that one game. But again, it was a one game sample. See how it goes. But yeah, I'm not too worried. The player that I have from the Sharks, I've got two, Nakora and Kylero, like most. Um, they're fine. Like their base is good, their outputs are great. There are a few other relevant, with Mulatalo, the right edge center and winger with Katoa and Ramey in a massive pod plays. They might take a smidge of a hit without Nico, but either way, like they kind of get through their work. Um, that's kind of the only really people to touch on. Obviously, you're not going to look at Liam Eason as an option at the moment. He's only filling in for Kennedy, but yeah, I don't really know where to go from the Sharks right now. I kind of need to see more out of them.
Their draw, as we've all known for a while now, is still looking so good.
Yep.
Apart from the Cowboys this weekend, they go then into the Rabbitohs at home. Rabbitohs, as we've seen, are still letting in points even though they're getting wins. The Titans away, they just versed them like, 2-3 weeks ago? The draws, honestly, the draw is a bit of a joke sometimes. The Newcastle Knights at home and then the Dragons away for round 25. So there's a good stretch coming up. And
yeah,
it's nice for an attacking based player. Like I've still got Mulatalo and I'm happy to hold him because of this matchups coming up. So that's literally the only reason. I know there's going to be those 20-point games, but I'm hoping there's a few of those bigger games coming up as well. Trav, you got anyone that sticks out with the Sharkies or anything you want to touch on with the Sharks?
I'll just sort of second everything that you boys have said. The draw coming up is fantastic for anyone bringing in. Yep, we got one sample. It was against the Tigers. They're atrocious.
yeah.
So I don't know if that's really a good sign. I think we need to see at least another 2 weeks. Cowboys Rabbitohs are going to be good tests. Both teams are still sort of in the finals contention. So this is a good test to see what they're like. But in saying that, Mulatalo's a good one, but he's the type of guy that I missed out on. I haven't been able to get him. Would love to have him, but won't get him. I've got Kale Iro. I'm very happy to have him as a season-long keeper. I've said it since the first time I came on this podcast, and I'll keep saying it. He's a keeper for me. Depth for what he can do is great. I want to talk to anyone that brought in Braden Trimble 2 weeks ago against the Tigers, because you're all flukes. But I'm very eager to see what you think and what your prediction of what he's going to do this week, because I just don't see another 138 points or anywhere near that coming. But but yeah, hey, kudos to you. You got 138, but I'll see maybe 10 or 20 this week, and I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, that's about it, really.
The Cowboys getting it done. As I said, they're winning games and they're right in this top 8 battle. Sharks this week, Tigers next week away, the Broncos at home, the Raiders at home, and then that round 25 bye, which is, I think, the semi-finals for pretty much any Supercoach competition out there, drafts and head-to-heads, etc. So that is the thing that's really, really painful, and it's really hurtful. It hurts me because I've got a couple of Cowboys in the League of Inches draft, and I think everyone's sitting back going, well done, you're done. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But where are we at with the Cowboys team? Because as I said, they're getting some points on the board. That bye I feel like it's just to steer clear of them still because of that bye purely. Like, I don't know if I'm saying not being fair, but I don't know. What do you boys think?
I think if you've got Cowboys boys, keep them. I think even with the run home and what they've got, yeah, okay. So they play the Storm, but they play the Storm in the second last game. But if you're an overall player, Storm in the second last game is probably going to sit there and think, well, let's take out a few players here and rest them, and then wait the week after that for the next one. So that's a Bulldogs will be a big game, and I'm really eager to see that one in the last game. Look, I don't fear the game against the Raiders. I don't fear the game for them against the Broncos. Definitely the Tigers and the Sharks this week. So whilst they say it's tough and it makes it hesitant, I actually don't really think that, other than the Storm, their draw coming up. Plus, they play 3 in a row with a bye in between in Townsville. So that speaks huge words. So whilst I don't think I will be buying any Cowboys, and I've actually No, actually, I'm going to say it, and I was going to talk about it tomorrow, but I'll talk more about it tomorrow. But Val Holmes is a serious option if you don't have him to keep bringing him in. He's still a good price for a gun center winger, and I think I just read that he's moved out to the wing, which I think is even better for him. And with some of these matchups, I think there's going to be some decent scores put on the boards, which adds for his goal kicking. So there's another 20 odd for his goal kicking. So yeah, I think he's probably the best option.
Yeah, I like the Val Holmes shout. I'm looking at him, and as I said, we'll probably touch on that one tomorrow because I reckon he'll feature potentially on maybe the most owned or something in that top 10, or at least we'll bring it up with maybe one of our trade options. Jesse, just the little one I want to touch on with him, Helam Lukey. I know there's been some hesitation around him and not really being able to hit all the preseason talk about Lukey, and with Finuwaki on the bench has always just been a hesitation regarding minutes as well for Lukey, but goodness me, he made a bang on the weekend.
Yeah, that was massive. The thing with Helam Lukey is his points per minutes are insane. Like, you go back and look at his previous games for the last couple of seasons. If he can get himself 60, 70 minutes, he's scoring 70 plus most of the time. Like, he's an absolute weapon. But his problem is, one, it is a minutes thing and it's an injury thing. He's so prone. It's such a shame. I started the season with him. You know what I mean? Like, I was very, very eager to see how he went this year, expecting a solid run out or at least 60 plus minutes. Yeah, it took him 2 or 3 weeks to get injured for a good stint. But no, like, I'm happy to see him scoring well. I hope he continues doing well for his own personal, endeavors in general, because I'm definitely keen on him in the future. But I think he just needs to get a bit more minutes under his legs and kind of string a full season out. But just with the Cows overall, the dearest player in this team is 650K. It's Scott Drinkwater. Scott Drinkwater to start the year was 820, and then rose from that point too. Like, they've all been really high. Val Holmes has been real high. Cotter had a period too. There's been a couple that have been pretty expensive. They're all tanking right now, or kind of coming to a plateau. So if you can get past the head-to-head side of things and the semis, I think they come into a pretty decent option. But yeah, I don't know if I would be looking at them personally. Not at this stage with trades and whatnot, but like Val Holmes, I kind of do want him back. You know what I mean? He's 624. His break even's 111. Like, you can still give that a go. He hasn't scored well for a while though. That's just trying to go back. His last big score, 72 in round 15. The one before that was 136, and then he hadn't scored more than 90 points since round 5. So, like, it's been a lot of average chipping away, a lot of 50s and 60s and that kind of thing. But and that's with goal kicking. So he's not doing much.
I like the wing play though. I think he does a bit more now. He has to do those hit ups in the first and second tackles and stuff and actually work. I just feel like he's been that out of form this year. The only way is up for him. And I feel like if you are going to go all in on him, you may as well do it now, obviously. But I'm with you. I can't go the Cowboys now with that buy. It's just a really, really annoying time to have the buy for these players, and having my team in a lot of my head-to-head comps in the finals and stuff, and draft obviously in the finals. It's just, if I can not do it and not have that headache, I won't. Next game up, Roosters versus the Manly Seagulls at Allianz Stadium. As I said, this Saturday contests are great. This should be a classic as well. Roosters stick solid with their team that went down to the Storm on the weekend. Lenu and Collins will start in the front row after coming from the bench last weekend, though. So a slight little change there. Terrell May back onto the bench as well. The Eagles, Lehigh Hopewadi's fractured eye socket has forced a little bit of a reshuffle. Tommy Salau pushing out to the wing. Ben Drabojevic named in the centres. That's a bit annoying. I would like to see him stay at second row, but that's all right. Actually, I don't even have him, so I don't know why I'm saying that's annoying, but I'm guessing for owners it's annoying. Corey Waddell is Trbojevic replacement in the back row, while Taniela Paseka joins the starting side at prop, with Sipley reverting to the bench. So a few little changes. This was like a full domino effect there. For Manly, Trav, anyone that's sticking out apart from, look, we can keep rapping him if we want and just keep rubbing it into Jesse how good Tommy Trbojevic is, and it's great to see him back.
Go on.
119, 174. Cha-ching. Thank you, good sir. We love you. You're the man. You're an idiot if you haven't got him. Oh, sorry, Jesse.
Idiot.
Yep, won't touch on that any further. Look, still a minus 30 break even. He's still he's 815k. So he's still, that the minus break even just talks big. Yep, okay, it's against the Roosters. I am very eager to see this multi that Joel's going to be putting on Sunday, because we know he's going to get at least 50. So for all the listeners out there, Joel doesn't reckon he'll get 50 points. So, yeah, I dare say his starting speech about how good he was and that he's come back on the podcast because he's the gun and the guru he's just eating his own words by saying that Turbo's not going to get 50 points on the weekend. So
It's trying to make me feel better.
Look, that's just being nice. Yeah, Turbo Garrick is a gun. Just continues to do not a hell of a lot by the eye, but puts out a big score. Plays his part. Yeah, I love the run home for Manly. So yeah, Manly man. Other than those two, though, look, DCE is the biggest probably pod play and loves a run home, but again, he's got a bye. So I'm next week. He's a tough one to get, and you're playing your halfbacks at the moment with potentially Hughes not playing this week and things. So it's a bit of a minefield in the halfback. So unless you're sort of going clear, it's a bit of a tough decision to do that.
So the bye's annoying afterwards. Raiders away, Warriors home, Tigers away.
Yeah,
it's very, very juicy for you match up.
Yep.
So that bye is a little bit annoying, but it's good. Obviously, all the byes now. It's only one team that does it, and that's not in the finals yet. So that's I think that's the last week. So just get out of it. But yeah, I know what you're saying about that. As a Tommy Teboyevich owner, I just wish it wasn't there as well, because that means I'm only going to be back to one fullback for next week, and that's already a very, very annoying situation to be in, because I said on the run home I wanted 2 fullbacks every game, and the next 2 weeks I probably don't have that, so I might have to do a bit of a soul search there, because I've got him and Teddy, so very painful. Kind of quicking this up, Jesse, I want you to talk to us about the Roosters as well. So Manly, if you have anything to bring up, we'll talk about it tomorrow, but I'll just go team for team now. Talk to us about your beloved Sydney Roosters.
My beloved Sydney Roosters can't seem to beat Melbourne. That's what it is.
Or Penrith.
Or Penrith.
Or top 8
one in 19. No, we can beat anyone else quite well, but can't beat those two. So write it off.
Apparently, you've only beaten one top 8 team all year. Apparently.
No, we've beaten. No, wait, what? One top 8 team all year.
I'm pretty sure you've only beaten one top 8 team this year. I think I read that. Maybe I was completely misquoted.
I think what you read was that the Roosters have beaten Melbourne and the Panthers once in 20 games.
No, there's something to do with the top 8 at the moment, but it's all good. Continue.
Anyway,
sorry.
Yeah, look, I still obviously got their buy in a couple of weeks' time. Is what it is. I still think a lot of them are solid options. Like, they're still no different to what they were before last week. You can't really look at that game as much of anything. Connor Watson's still, probably the hooker to have going forward. I still think he's a great option on that side. I think Angus Crichton's the best second rower to have anywhere. So I still feel like if you haven't got him, this is kind of the week with a decent break even. You can get him in. I went early last week and took a bit of a cash hit, but it was fine with it. Spencer Leniu starting at prop. I'm super excited to see how that goes. He's a weapon. Dom Young, I think Tupanua is kind of hindering his output a little bit. He's no Joey Manu, but again, Joey Manu's not far away. So if you've got him, I'd still say holes. You can make the argument to sell Terrell May now. He's done his job. He's back to the bench even with Rhea Hargraves off. But again, why at this point? You can just keep him. If he's your third option, sweet. If he's your first or second front rower, flip him to Payne Haas. Kind of just ride that out if you can. And then Tedesco, I still, even with Turbo's resurgence and how bloody good he's been, he's still doing what Tedesco's been doing all season just now. So they're both essentially pretty much the fullbacks to own at this state. But That's kind of it for me on the Roosters. I think they're great options, and they have always been great options. Nothing changes that.
Does the buy hurt a lot?
Yeah, a lot, yes, because everyone's so invested in having multiple Roosters. You know what I mean? It's not like you've got Turbo and you've got Garrick, you know what I mean? Or you've just got Garrick like majority do. You cop that one next week and you can cover it. But like if you've got May, Sam Walker, Angus Crichton, Dom Young, Tedesco, you're going to feel that. It was the same thing that we happened in, I think it was round 13 or 14 when they had their first big buy, and it was like, holy shit, this sucks. But yeah, I'm not that over invested in Roosters, but it does hurt. It's just a shitty time to lose a good chunk of them. So what is it, round 24?
It's the first week of finals, I'm pretty sure.
Oh boy.
No, it's round 23, I think. It's
23. Yeah,
Round
yeah,
week of
it's the first week of finals.
Ouch.
Yeah, round
That's
23.
yeah, anyone that doesn't have Tedesco is going to probably get through that first round. So be happy about that.
Oh, thanks. Oh, maybe I'm going to get rid of him this week. All right, I'm done. All right, Sunday games. Smash through these ones. The Dragons versus the Penrith Panthers. There's 3 games again this Sunday versus the Panthers. For the Dragons, the Origin Stars are back. So Ben Hunt and Zach Lomax both come back with Marshke and Ravalawa making way. Raymond for Taylor Mariner is back from injury as well, with Luciano Leilua going back to the bench. Geez, a bit of a fall from grace for Leilua. He went there from the Cowboys because he was benching, and geez, he hasn't been able to make the run on side for the Dragons, and coming off the bench still, and hasn't really improved at all this year. But anyway, the Penrith Panthers welcome back their host of Stars. Probably the scariest they've looked in a long, long time. And guess what, guys? It's only a matter of weeks before finals football, and they are stronger than ever. So very, very scary. Some kids have got some valuable experience over the last few weeks as well. Liam Henry started in the back row against Dolphins, but he'll come off the bench as well. I know he's been pretty popular, so I just wanted to mention that one. But the Iceman, he had ice in his veins, Nathan Cleary. Jesse, I'm pretty sure if you haven't got him already, you're getting him this week. He'll probably be the most traded in player by the length of the Flemington Straight this week.
100%. Yeah, big time. He's the only trade that I'm doing this week. I was just going to let it bring down to an attainable price point for me so I can get him. But yeah, I'm pretty confident with him. I just wanted a week out of him and a bit of a price drop. 744, like that's wild money for Cleary in general. 104 break even too. Like he came back and outscored that anyway. So like I'm not worried about 100 break even by any means. Currently traded in by 24,000 people. So well, it doesn't take people long. You know, as soon as the chin's back, everyone's on him. So I'll follow suit. I'm following suit confidently too. So very, very eager for it. I hope he finishes the season.
Please
yeah,
do.
Fingers crossed.
Please do.
Yeah.
The rest speaks for themselves. I am tempted in the back row for the Penrith Panthers. Sorensen or Liam Martin, just for some reason, are sticking out to me, but I think more so for a draft point of view, but we won't go there and we won't touch on that. Sorry, Trav, you got the Dragons this time. You don't get the exciting team to talk about. What to mention here? I know Zach Lomax has been looked up by a few for this sort of run home, and if there was a chance they would jump on just for their run home. They got Penrith this week, the Storm next week, the Bulldogs the week after, the Titans, and then the Sharks. That's just the next 5. So compared to what we have spoken about so far, it's extremely hard. There's 3 teams there in the top 4 who are doing quite well. So I just feel like Lomax more than ever is off my radar. I've gone very, very cold very quickly on Lomax.
Yeah, I won't talk about the Dragons for 3 more weeks.
What was that?
Because they got to play the Panthers, the Storm, and then the Bulldogs for the next 3 weeks, and they're not that good. Like they're just not that good. They've been very lucky with some very kind results. I feel like they've managed to get some teams with some injuries and things, and they've been able to sort of scrape away a win. And credit to them to be out the fact that they're sitting in 9th where they are because of all that. You can only play what you play against. But yeah, I'm not Supercoach wise. I ain't going to talk to you about the Dragons for 3 more weeks, and then I might think about talking to you about Zach Lomax when he's bottom dollar.
I'm with you there. Queensland Derby coming up, the Dolphins versus the Gold Coast Titans. The Dolphins need a win. They need to keep in this top 8 and not slip too quickly. They would have been very disappointed on the weekend with how that result went, especially with Isaiah Katoa basically not going for a shot when he was about 20 meters out in front. I don't know what I was watching. I don't know what happened. It was like he was a computer and he just got a virus all of a sudden, just conked out and restarted. Who knows? But that was one of the wildest finishes I've ever seen. I still can't believe he didn't take the shot. I don't know what he was thinking. But Wayne Bennett stuck solid. He has kept the same side, which is great. Max Plath remains at hooker. Just point out there, Kurt Donahue is 1 game away from returning from that suspension as well. So maybe only 1 more week with Max Plath at hooker until he goes back to that 13 jersey, in my opinion. For the Titans, same thing. Des Hasler's kept the same 17 that lost to by some way by Manly on the weekend. AJ Brimson is once again sidelined. So I don't know what's happened there, but yeah. Trav, you got something to talk about with the Gold Coast Titans? I know you're loving JC, you're loving Keeney. AJ is just a mystery. What has happened there? This year has just been injury after injury after bad luck after bad luck.
But that's just AJ Brimson, isn't it? We all love him, but that's just AJ Brimson. That's what we come to expect. And as much as we all love him, we all respect him, we all think he's a good fella. We all know he can play. And as a Queensland fan, I love when he's healthy because I love him sitting in the 14 jersey. Love it. But it's what do you expect? So the fact is that he's actually completely gone is great for anyone that was able to hold Keeney. I was a Keeney owner. I turned him to Turbo. It worked out perfectly. And then saying that, Keeney had a break even 160 last week, got himself a 60, which is not it's not terrible, but I'm glad I bloody well got him to Turbo. It's 114 points that I scored better. So yeah, Jaden Campbell got brought back down to earth, didn't he? The old gravity that he was sitting that was letting him float sky high, it brought him right back down to a 42 or something, wasn't it? So yeah, that's that. Did I read somewhere that he's currently the most sold player at the moment? I don't like that.
He'd be up there. He would be up there. Don't give it away, Jesse.
So that just doesn't make any sense. That's about all I've got on them, really.
Just with the Titans, just quickly, they're running the next 5 games: the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Sharks, the Dragons, and the Roosters. So it's not a great looking 5 games coming up either. So I know JC's doing some good things, but maybe people are thinking, you know what, while he's up at this price, may as well just take advantage of it while I can and go.
Flick him to Cleary would make sense. Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
That's the play.
For me, that is and it is a good play, but I also think Campbell's also a keeper for the year too. I think he's shown recently in 5'8". The fact is that there's no AJ Brimson, so I think it's going to give him a bit of breath of fresh air. I think he's a keeper. I think there are other options which I'll talk to you tomorrow about what to do and how to get to Cleary. I don't think Jaden Campbell's the one.
And I feel like if you've got him, you're at least playing him this week and then potentially selling him, because I think he'll score quite well against the Dolphins. I feel like Jesse, Dolphins really been flying under the radar the last few weeks. I think in terms of Supercoach, there's not really much to talk about. I feel like you were very big on TPJ. How's the TPJ going?
Look, as far as TPJ, he's an enabler. He's a dual position enabler that you can flip around with a decent output for his minutes. I don't think you bind him in expecting like Angus Crichton level numbers or for your front row anything you're going to get Fanua Blake sort of spec score and tries. But for 370, 80 odd K, whatever he was last week, like it's not a bad play. It really isn't. But again, if you don't need him, then there's no point. You can kind of get around it and go to anywhere else. Interesting plays for the Finns though. Hammer's great. I know Trav loves him. Big old Fins up. He's a fantastic option. He would have been a good option even last week. I didn't rate the fixture for him, and he still was able to get it through. And I've gone back and had a look at his games, and they're so patchy. You know, he hasn't strung many together back to back. It's been one, few weeks off, another one, few weeks off. But the games that he comes back for, he tons up in every single one of them. So it's like, if he can string it out now and not actually miss anything, he's a great option with a dual, low 600s. Like, you can't really miss out. The rest of the side, maybe not so much. I don't think there too many of them are viable buys. I think to some of them are good holds. Even still, Azarko, like I've had him for ages now. I might even start looking at someone to go from him with the run that they've kind of got going on. I think it might even be time. So I probably wouldn't want to.
Coming up.
Yeah, and like at the price point, you can kind of get around it still. Azarko, maybe when Manu gets back, he might be a decent flip. They could be quite close to switching over there in price, but just have to assess when the stars kind of align for him. But honestly, I don't think I'd be buying too many in, except if their name wasn't Hammer. So that's it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Couldn't
I
agree
like
more.
the Hammer. So is he center wing dual?
Yep.
Or he hasn't got? He still got the dual.
yeah, he's
Sweet.
cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell you what, you give me some ideas, boys. I might go after this and have a bit of a look at my team. But anyway,
It's all
last
right.
game of
your team's built because of us, don't worry.
Basically.
Yeah, no, it is. I've gotten better since I've been just a listener of the podcast. I've realized the last couple of weeks my scores have gotten better. So if I go horrible this week, I'm not coming back on a Supercoach podcast ever again. Raiders versus the Bunnies to round out the round 21 clashes. Ricky Stewart stuck solid. As I said, guys, there was a few games this week where some teams just stayed solid that time of year, and he's done that. Ricky Stewart for the Rabbitohs. Michael Cheekham moves to the centres in place of Richie Kenner, concussion. Jacob Host and Tallis Duncan are the new back row pairing. So if you're like me and you got Tallis Duncan in a few weeks ago hoping you'd get some starting spots, it's finally paying off. So thank you, Tallis Duncan. You are an absolute superstar. I love you. And thank you, Ben Hornby, as well. Cameron Murray, thank you for getting in that fight, which has enabled this to happen as well. So I really do appreciate that. So I think this is the last week of his suspension, though. So he's back next week. Jesse, Rabbitohs. I'm a Jai Gray owner. I'm hoping this week is another nice little score for Jai Gray. Apart from that, Damien Cook, now a goal kicker, putting them over from everywhere on the field. Talk dirty to me.
Yeah, bloody hell. Damien Cook, man, come out of the gates. I saw that he was kicking goals quite early on, and I thought, it could be a cheeky VC play. It would have been a great VC play, to be fair. Yeah. He scored low hundreds. So, mate, if he can keep doing that,
especially if you didn't own Turbo.
Oh, prick. Yeah, especially if you didn't own Turbo. So I'm never going to leave that one off, but that's all right. Look, man, I think I don't like spending up at hooker. It's one of those things you do it and you kind of just go, that's me done now for forever if you can avoid it. I've said that a few times this year and haven't had the opportunity to avoid it. I keep losing him. So, look, I've got him. He'll be my hooker for the end of the year. Fingers crossed, But yeah, so look, if you can keep that goal kicking, holy shit, there's the Appy Coruscant everyone wanted, but with a much more steady base and not much of a roller coaster. So I'm very keen to see. Yeah, look, there's a couple options. Keon's still a gun, still an elite player if you don't have him. Still a pod compared to the big three anyway. Tallis Duncan, yeah, you got lucky. You've had him for ages too, not a couple weeks. You've had him for like 2.5, 3 months now. It's been madness.
No,
I'm telling you, you've had Tallis Duncan, I'm sure, before the buys.
I think I got him when that Cam Murray injury happened because I was like, yeah, he's a certainty to get this spot, and then it didn't happen, and then I was like left with him. So
I'm sure it was even before that. I just feel like you've always had him. Yeah, I don't know if I'd buy any of them at the moment, to be fair, but there's a lot of great options for him. To be honest, there's a few goodies there.
And the interesting thing with their draw as well. So the Raiders this weekend, then they walk into a bit of a tough patch here. They go the Sharkies away, and then the Melbourne Storm at home. Then the Tigers and then the Knights. So that's obviously comes out the other side, but that could be a real momentum killer for the Bunnies because they've hit form, that they're winning lots of football games, but they need to keep winning to make finals. So if they lose one or two of those big dog team sort of games, maybe they just fall off a perch. I'm not sure. They're riding high. It's really good for us owning these players, but as soon as they hit it like the wall, I'm a bit worried about what they're going to be like, but I'll ride it while I can. Damien Cook, keep slotting those goals. You're more than a beach sprinter to me. You're a goal kicker now. So, well done.
Good on
Raiders. I'm sorry, Trevor. You've been stitched up a couple of times in this so far. You've gotten some horrible teams to talk about. For the
Didn't
Raiders,
even cover them.
what was that?
I said you hadn't even gotten to them yet, and you're already calling them horrible.
Well, look, I'll go on their run. So the Bunnies at home, the Dogs away, the Manly Seagulls away. At home. Cowboys away, Penrith at home.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of teams fighting for that top 8 spot in there. And then Penrith just hitting Penrith form. Trav, anyone sticking out for you? They've always been the team all year that have had like the good cheapies and we ride them out till we cash out. And that's about all we've thought about with the Raiders. Now it's to the business end. Is there anyone sticking out that you go, you know what? Jump on.
No.
Not so.
I can't hold myself. No, there's nobody. You hit the nail on the head. Like they were all dudes that we wanted early on. Ethan Strange,
Hudson Young,
Ethan, yeah, Morgan Smithies. Who was Kaya Weeks or KO Weeks was another one. All of these young fellas that they did their jobs and have done well. Good draft options for you. Pick them up off the waivers, but for Supercoach, you should have all these guys gone. The only one, look, there's two that are interesting. One I've already got, and most people do already, is Tarpany. I think he's a solid hold. Like he got a 60 on the weekend. He's that's all you want from your front row, is it? Unless they're Tino, really, you're not going to get much more than that. That's a pretty good score. AFB obviously is the other one that can get big. The only other one that is piquing an interest that I'm going to watch, but I won't bring in because I only got 5 trades left. But is Zach Hosking. The start of his year this year was huge. He's just finally come back. So yeah, he's one that could be a bit of a sneaky play for some later on games. But yeah, he's the only one that I'm watching. The thing is, there's lots of good players on the Raiders. Like Jamal Fogarty's certainly freed him up and is a great player, but he's not a Supercoach dude. Yeah, so Timoko is another one, but again, like you've got other options that would far outweigh him. But he's been another good one that has played and done the job for you over the year.
Yep. No, I agree with everything you said. And as I said, Jesse, just no good. The Raiders, we don't want to talk about them. They're just offering nothing now. So seriously, like when you score what you score this week and you want to pipe up, just respect me and Trav a little bit more. We're in the 1300s now, while you're still down there in the 1100s.
Yeah, 1100s, but season rank far out. Where am I? Sorry, I can't see you all the way down there. Let me just double check.
So I'll just I'll mute him now, guys. I don't need to hear what else he's got to say. We'll just keep looking up at you. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you, guys. That's the TLT done and dusted. I'm so keen to rip into tomorrow night's stuff because I felt the tradies and there's a lot to talk about when it comes to it. And it's a pretty crucial one because now the origin period's over. Now we look to lock in our sides and trades are at a premium. So that we're going to be talking about players that we generally feel like are players to hold and keep till the end and will make a difference as well. And to really look into where we're sitting as well with our teams head-to-head overall and the like. So really keen to rip into that one tomorrow night. So make sure you tune in when we upload that one as well. But as I said at the start, make sure you like, subscribe wherever you're listening, is Spotify, Apple, YouTube as well. Give us a follow there, a subscribe, and give us some love on social media platforms as well. Go ahead, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a share, and comment on some posts and help the page continue to grow. We're growing every day. It's really, really good to see, and I really do value everyone out there that's part of our community, a part of our family. So thank you, boys. Thank you. We'll be a bit nicer to you tomorrow, Jesse. We might only mention not owning Turbo about 5 times tomorrow night, but see how we go.
Fair point. No dramas. I'll look forward to it.
And he deserves it too. He said he's not going to get him in, so he deserves it.
I'm not getting him in. I'm going to call it now. It ain't happening. Plus, you know what? Realistically, it's bloody too expensive to get anyway. So,
he's not even going to get 50 this week, so it's a smart move.
Yeah, exactly.
He won't, guys. It's a $20 multi-bet and gamble responsibly. That is our bet. So, Thank you, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow night.